Hi everybody, I'm Dwayne with Off Grit, a channel that's dedicated to helping you live a lifestyle of self-sufficiency. I'm here with my dog Bernie because he's attached at the hip. But anyways, today on this video, what I wanted to do, and it's long overdue, is go over a list of tools that have helped me go off grid and something that you may want to consider before you jump into this full force. You know, there's a lot of tools that are going to be required to do this, and honestly, the more tools the better. I'm a big believer in that, so the more you can afford, the better you're going to be. That's just the reality of the world. I don't make the rules, but you can obviously do with a lot less. And there's been many times in my life when I was doing carpentry or contract work where if a tool broke, I didn't have any options, so I would have to make do with what I had. So no one's judging. If you don't have the money to get the tools, it's not a problem, you know, you're just gonna have to work around. What I'm showing you are just the tools that have really helped me out here and things that I feel can be indispensable to getting things done efficiently on a homestead. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start with is a big one, and that is a pickup truck. And not just any pickup truck, a used old pickup truck. And there's a couple reasons for this. First of all, my wife and I paid $3,500 for this truck. And it has a utility bed built into it, and of course it has a lumber rack on it. It's a dually, it's a 7.4 liter, and it's like a 2000. Now, I will say I'm not going to be driving this thing very often, and I really try not to, but on the homestead itself, I use this thing daily. Number one, I'm using it to store all of my tools, and as you can see here, on this side and the other side, I got a place to put bolts, screws, and just everything, you know, you can think of. In addition to that, in the back of the pickup, it has such a big bed in the back that I can take garbage to the dump, this is from the wash and some monsoon stuff that I had to clean out of there. And in addition to that, even while I'm loading the truck up, I still use it to haul sand and bring it back over here where I'm working on the earth bag. And just, you know, I use this thing all the time. Now, a nice old pickup truck is great because I don't have to worry about payments. And let me tell you, if I take care of this truck and I'm done using it after a while, which I'll probably keep it, but you know, let's say we wanted to get rid of it. Now, because I got such a good deal on this truck, I'll probably be able to get what I paid for it. So basically, I'm getting a free vehicle if the truck maintains its integrity. So it's a risk, but I really recommend it, especially for the tool aspect. And when you're living off grid and you're building a homestead from the ground up, when I come out here, you know, I don't have a tool shop here for my stuff. So this truck acts as a multi-purpose vehicle. So enough on the truck here. But I'm going to start with what's in front of us here, and that is an air compressor. Now, a lot of the things I'm going to mention are not necessary. You don't have to have them to go off grid, okay? People do it with a lot less. But for me, it's about what I'm willing to do out here as far as, like, you know, being efficient with my time and just how tough I want to be on myself. So to me, there's a middle ground here. So I actually, you know, I want as many tools as I can have to do the jobs easier, you know, but at the same time I want to be able to do it myself, so I can't afford some of the bigger things. But the air compressor, you know, obviously you can use it to put air in your tires, but also for this one here, I use it to power a couple important tools to me. One is a nail gun, a framing nailer, because if you're going to do things with pallets or just dimensional lumber, well, it just works so much faster. Now, you don't, I shouldn't say you have to, like I said, you don't have to have anything, but this is something that's pretty important. And then, of course, I got some rusty screws sitting here. It's a long story, but things got left out in the rain here. So the next thing in line here is a brad nailer. And, you know, I use crown staples a lot, so these come in handy. This is something that's also a must as far as I'm concerned. But, you know, there's all kinds of implements that you can attach to this. A paint gun, you can do all kinds. And the bigger the better on these things as far as, you know, if you've got the generator to power it, which I'll go right to the generator. You can't see them here because they're behind the shed, but basically we have two generators. We have one generator and a backup generator. Now the main generator that I use for the tools is a Wen 4200 peak 4000 watts. It does pretty well. It's not great quality in my opinion, but it hasn't let me down really. The reason I'm bringing that up with this is because obviously the bigger you go on something like this, the more wattage you're going to need to power it up. So, and in addition to that, I have welding equipment. So I found that the 4200 watts is enough to work everything I need. This, as far as I got two welders here, which we might as well just talk about those. If you're not a welder, then there's really no point in getting a welder. But if you are a welder or know how to weld, another thing that's almost a must. I save so much money by having these tools here. They've long paid for themselves. Actually, this isn't even mine. This is my son's. Sorry, Justin. So I got to give this back to him. This is a MIG welder and a stick welder. A DC stick welder is real nice because in addition to doing stick welding, you can also charge batteries with these. You can look that up on YouTube. But welding equipment is nice to have. Don't need it though. And let's see, on to the next thing. These should have came first, honestly, because these are the cheapest things. But can you imagine not living without having some cordless drills? Well, you know, anymore, you know, these are a must. And you can do a lot with these things. You know, you can get all kinds of bits for them, obviously. So I'm always buying bits and all kinds of little doodads for these things. In addition to that, you probably want to get something a little more powerful, like a corded drill, which is what this thing is. A lot of Harbor Freight tools here, but this tool here is a much better drill as far as power is concerned, and you can do a lot with this. So this is a heavy duty drill, and you know, I think I paid like 50 bucks for it. So since I'm over here, let's talk about a planer. Now, you don't have to have a planer, but this thing costs maybe 30 bucks on Amazon, and I'll tell you what, if you don't want to sand and you want to limit your amount of sanding, get one of these suckers, man. You'll save so much time on sanding down pallets and rough wood. It'll be well worth it. Or if you make a mistake while woodworking, which I do all the time, you know, and I need to shave off, you know, a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch, boom, there you go. Now, this one here, these are not based on order of importance. This is probably one of the most important tools that I have out here. And this is just a circular saw, but these are the newer ones that are like, you know, 7 amps. I don't need anything bigger than that. I think a 15 amp circular saw is a little bit of overkill, but to each their own. This is, I want to say I paid like 80 or 90 bucks for this. I don't remember for sure, but just make sure you get the carbide tip blades here, okay? Now, next online is a reciprocating saw. Now, all the pallet work that I do out here is done starting with this sucker. Now, this thing, another Harbor Freight tool, I think I paid 25 bucks for it. But I probably pay more in blades than I have for this unit here. And it's lasted me a long time. This one I've already got about 80 or 90 pallets on it already as far as breaking them down. And as far as the blades go, you got to get the big blades. So if you can get these longer blades like this right here, that's what you're going to be paying for, because you need the metal ones. So I end up with a lot of extra blades here, but they sell these in these packs and it's just cheaper to get them this way. So these are a must for breaking down pallets. You can get a pallet buster, one of those manual ones, but frankly, I've never seen a use for it that I need it for out here. It's so much easier to do with the reciprocating saw. And of course, the sander. Orbital sanders are nice. You know, I don't have a real expensive one. This is just like a $30 or $40 deal. It's one of those things where you're gonna need it, and if you want stuff to look smooth, you know, then you get a little bag with all the pads for it. Now, you're gonna find with these tools, what you really end up going through are the blades and the pads and all that stuff. That's where they get you. So anyhow, now let's see what else we got here. A metal grinder. Now, a metal grinder, you might think, well, if you're not a welder, you don't need one. But let me tell you a little trick with these things. In addition to having all kinds of different blades, like, you know, this is for masonry. These are kind of pricey, but these are nice to cut, you know, stone and that kind of stuff. Grinding wheels, all that. These brushes when you attach them to a grinder, you can do a lot of real quick woodworking with these things. And let's see what else we got here. Now we've got glue. Now wood glue, the more the merrier. You can never have too much wood glue. Wood glue is key for working with wood, and I don't think enough people use it from videos that I watch. This stuff here, back in the day when I used to make cutting boards for people for side money, this stuff, you'd be amazed at how strong this glue really is. So, you know, it truly bonds with wood. So, you know, it actually creates such a tight bond. So when you use wood glue in addition to framing or anything like that, or any kind of, you know, building, it actually just makes your joints that much stronger. So wood glue is kind of a must. JB Weld's always nice to have on hand. This stuff's good especially if you don't weld. Even if you do, I use this stuff all the time, so it's always good to have some of this on hand. Wood filler, you know, that's more for the fine-tuning projects if you want to pretty stuff up. And of course, a utility knife. I can't forget this thing, and lots of blades. I buy them by the 100 here, so this thing here, use it almost daily, so it's always in my pocket actually. And these punch sets, these are nice if you're working with pallets and you want to get rid of the nails for, like, if you're going to use that hand planer I showed you, then these are great. You know, you take a hammer and you can punch out the nails with them nice and easy, so those are good to have. Okay, clamps. Now, man, you can never have too many clamps in my opinion. Now, I have some clamps here I use for welding. These clamps are great. They actually, whenever I need to do corner welds at 90 degrees, you know, you can stick the metal in here, the tube steel, whatever, and it'll give you that perfect 90 degree. And these are a lot cheaper than the real expensive welding ones they sell, and I've been using these for a long time, so these are great. I have a couple sets of these. These guys right here are back when I used to make furniture. Now, I have got about a dozen of these things, but what's cool about these are if you want to, you know, make, say, a dining room table or something, and you want to put wood together, and like I used to use them for cutting boards and things like that, these kind of clamps are awesome. They're big clamps. They're you know, they're cheaper than the pipe clamps that you see, but these are great if you're doing big woodworking projects. If you can afford to get these are great. You should get them. Okay, now depending on where you live, a chainsaw is always nice to have. This chainsaw here, I actually had a gas chainsaw, and the thing literally fell apart in my hands because I went cheap on it. I'm finding chainsaws can be a little tricky when you're buying them. You're almost better off just, you're gonna have to spend money if you want a good one. So this one here is actually an electric chainsaw. Now hear me out before you say anything. A lot of the stuff out here in Arizona, we have like mesquite trees, but I don't have a huge forest out here, so usually I can get to what I need to cut, and I usually have the generator in the truck. The nice thing about this particular saw, this Oregon here, or Oregon, however you say Oregon, it has an automatic sharpener built into it, so actually you can keep it running and just you click this back and there's a stone in here that instantly sharpens it. Really nice, low maintenance. I don't like taking these chains off and sharpening them. It's a pain in the ass, so you know, it's nice to have something like this. It's very low maintenance. I don't have to worry about it falling apart. You know, the tensioner on it's real easy to use, and I find for the smaller jobs this is good. Obviously if you live in a place with big trees, this isn't going to work for you, but a chainsaw is going to be an expense. All kinds of straps here. You need these things, you know, if you're hauling anything. Obviously, you know, the more the merrier, so that's how that works. All kinds of screws and things, and I can just go on and on all the little things, but let's just get back to the big stuff. A cement mixer. Now at the time we paid under $300 for this, and now I know they've went up in price, but this is something, man, I've pretty much been using this non-stop building this earth bag, so these are really good to have, you know, mixing by hand. I did it for a little while out here and just to hell with it. Honestly, now I already want something bigger, so if you can get a big one of these are great to have. Let's see, Old Faithful over here. This is actually something that's really important that I use a lot right now. I haven't been using it. I got to put a new table on top here, but this is a radial arm saw. Now, why would I get a radial arm saw as opposed to getting a miter saw or a table saw? Well, honestly, A table saw and a miter saw are better to have overall, but I don't have either one out here right now because I don't have a shop. And what's nice about these things is you can find these suckers really cheap, and they do a lot of things. They function like as a ripping table. You can rip with them. You do like just normal mitering, you know, cuts on them where you cut angles. You can cut big pieces of plywood with them. So it's a pretty versatile saw. They are a little dangerous though, so if you don't have experience woodworking, it's probably not your best saw to buy. Let's see what else. Back here behind the shed where I do a lot of my little work here. It gets ugly back here. A staple gun. Always nice to have a staple gun. Use these all the time. And a vise. If you can get a bigger vise, that would be better. But I have a small one back here, and this thing comes in handy for so many things. Oh, and the list just keeps growing. Sorry folks, I forgot some of this stuff here. I passed it, but I forgot to mention it. Work gloves, pretty important. Definitely want to have those. Safety glasses, let me tell you, I just countless times get things in my eyes out here. You have to have these. A respirator, I highly recommend it. There is so much bad stuff that I've breathed in over the years that I really do regret, and I wish I would have had one of these sooner, but definitely want to get one of these. And a framing square. These things are good for so many things. You can go watch videos on all the little cool tricks you can do with these. I don't even know half of them, but there's so much you can do with it. A cutoff saw. For that big metal job, you need one of these. All right, next is a jackhammer. Now this is actually a demolition hammer. It's kind of like between, you know, the big size jackhammers, but this here was about $300, and we have a lot of caliche in the soil out here and a lot of rocks. It is the desert, so I got one of these with a spade bit, and man, I'll tell you what, use it all the time. Use it to dig post holes. And I know right away someone might be thinking auger. Now an auger would be good too in addition to this, but if I had to choose between this and an auger, I would go with this. All right, now a cart. Now I will say this I got at Harbor Freight. Stay away from it. It's a piece of junk. I had to do so many modifications to this thing to keep it together. So get a wagon, but don't get the one at Harbor Freight. There's better deals out there. But anyways, you need one of these. I use this all the time, my wife and I, to haul things. But you know, these are a must. If you have a four-wheeler ATV with a trailer, that would be even better. But I don't have either one, so that's something that's you know, if you can afford it, great. All right, so to wrap it up here, a wheelbarrow is also something you'll want to have. I got some shovels, some trowels, and screeds for masonry work, and man, you can just go on and on and on. And I haven't even scratched the surface, to be honest, folks. I have power washer, just I can keep naming more, and I've tried to make this video as short as possible. But the point is if you are going to go off grid or start a homestead, you might want to consider just making a list of tools and trying to find deals on them now before you do it, because this stuff, as you can see, it can really nickel and dime and add up real fast, and then before you know it, you're in it for thousands of dollars in tools. So you know, it's something to definitely want to consider. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll talk to you soon.